The recent Skarner rework has been met with mixed reception, and this is not the first time something like this has happened. It's such a travesty to lose the old Skarner, and his new rework tells us why so many VGUs aren't a success. The moment they revealed his new look, I knew there would be some pushback, but it wasn't until the new lore was revealed that people dubbed this VGU a disaster. The new developer video about designing Skarner and his lore has a whopping 45% dislike ratio, and the video comes across as totally tone deaf.
For a really long time, I've been wanting to write a horror-based character, and a lot of my characters have been very wholesome and cute, but I've also wanted to work on something kind of terrifying. So when we were looking at Skarner, we were like, yes, our time has come. We're gonna write what we call Scorer, which is Skarner horror.
I'll come back to this video in a bit because there's some stuff in it that I think's really relevant. But I'll start with the lore. Even unpopular characters get to be alive, so long as League of Legends is. But those replaced by new champions with new looks and a different story, but using their name, are gone forever. Like a Hollywood star that knew too much. They've been replaced. Skarner actually had amazing lore, and I will read for you some of the greatest literature associated with League of Legends. Dream Song. Wait, no, just read it yourself. I did a reading and it took over 10 minutes. Instead, here's the rundown of the story. If you've already read it, skip to 3 minutes 40 seconds. The story begins with an anxious Skarner worried that he's going to be lonely when he hibernates for 1,000 years. He's overjoyed when he learns that his people are part of a hive mind and he can communicate with not only them but other creatures in the deep and the world itself. He finds comfort in the warmth of the earth's core, so he digs himself ever deeper. One day, the songs of joy turn to horror and fear, but by the time he's unearthed himself on the surface, he finds the bodies of his loved ones dead. He holds out some hope, though. In the distance, he can hear their namestones still singing out to him. For the next 3 days, he exposes himself to the searing heat of the desert sun, something he's not felt in a very long time, eventually finding the namestone. It's in the possession of a group of humans. He tries to communicate a song of peace, but the humans do not hear it. It's as if they're not connected to the world at all. He's overwhelmed with fear, hate, and anger. Soon, this interaction turns violent, and he tears apart these humans and brings forth great pillars of crystal to impale his foes, and then is in shock when he is shot by a firearm powered by a bright blue crystal. For humans, it's known as Hextech. For Skarner, it's a namestone of a loved one. He rips the gun apart and takes the namestone for himself, leaving the woman who shot at him alive to tell the tale. Skarner doesn't know if recovering the namestones can bring his people back. He doesn't know if he's going to recover them for his own peace of mind. He doesn't know if he will ever find peace. But he knows that they're calling for him. Skarner is more than a crystal scorpion. When you consider the importance of rune stones and rune wars, a species that are some part made up of these crystals is an incredibly powerful species. And that makes sense when we learn that Hextech, the thing that powers Piltover to create science fiction tier stuff, comes from Skarner's species. They're called bracken, by the way. And this story connects to other champions. It's not isolated, unlike the new Skarner. Camille's family got rich from being the people that killed and mined the bracken in the first place, connecting him to her. Jace, of course, is the creator of Hextech, and as Arcane is now canon, this meant there was huge potential for Skarner to be introduced in Season 2 or 3 of the show. Perhaps this is how we first see Shurima. Jace accompanies an expedition to Shurima to see this great new source of Hextech crystals. And then Skarner could be introduced. There's so many ways this could be done. From Dream Song being reworked to happen whilst Jace is there, barely surviving the encounter, to Jace just hearing about some sort of gem creature attacking all the mining sites. Jace could even learn the true source of Hextech being from the Bracken and feel a dilemma between progress and what is right, giving the namestones back to Skarner so that his people can be with him, or improving the lives of those in Piltover and even Sorn. With this much Hextech, we could even fix Sorn, could be something he says. Or maybe even an ever more unhinged Victor is the one to know of the Bracken and keeps it a secret from Jace for the sake of progress. I'm not a writer for Arcane, but you can see how much potential there is in this plotline. Now that story is gone. Forever. It's over. No, I'm serious. This is a huge change. Brackens aren't the source of Hextech anymore. Camille's family didn't get rich from Brackens. We don't get to know if the rest of the Bracken can ever be reunited, or the extent of Skarner's ability to commune with the world itself. Riot could have kept the same story, actually highlighted it, and given him the exact same new reworked gameplay he has now, with an impressive new crystalline model. Instead, we got this boring, tyrannical leader dude. It goes beyond boring, straight up into insulting. Skarner's old lore was about a group being colonized, genocided, for the gain of people on the other side of the world. Humans, or softskins, came into his home and murdered his people. They were defenseless if they dreamed of a better place. But then outsiders came and murdered them in their sleep. Yet the new law paints Skarner as a terror, a horrible, horrible person for being isolationist and not wanting people to know about Ixtal. He doesn't want outsiders inside Ixtal and already thinks the humans that are there have a penchant for chaos, let alone the people he knows of outside the region, like the bloodthirsty Noxus. Or how about the terror of the Void? The developer in the video keeps going on about horror, how Skarner is this horror character. The horrors of unchecked colonization, maybe, the horrors of progress without thought of those exploited in the name of it. But no, now he is the horror, the thing holding Ixtal back. It feels insulting that his old character's life was ruined by outsiders coming in and ruining it, but new Skarner is the bad guy for not wanting outsiders to come in and ruin Ixtal.
A horror, something kind of terrifying, right? What we call scorer, which is Skarner horror. This paranoia. What makes Skarner scary is paranoia, visceral fear.
Okay, enough skirting around it. Let's react to this video. And no hate to the developer or the director of this video, or even the cafe workers. This is just my opinion. Let's go.
For a really long time, I've been wanting to write a horror-based character, and a lot of my characters have been very wholesome and cute, but I've also wanted to work on something kind of terrifying. So when we were looking at Skarner, we were like, yes, our time has come. We're gonna write what we call scorer, which is Skarner horror.
First off, there's nothing wrong with this dev wanting to write some horror, especially if they're known for cutesy, wholesome stuff. It's quite an interesting exercise, and there are elements to it that we see I do like the idea of.
Hi, I'm Elise Lemoyne. I'm a senior writer here at Riot Games on League of Legends, and I was the writer.
Wait, did you see how far away they put that cup from her? That's just cruel. If someone did that to me, I'd feel offended. If I was the director of this video, I would have asked them to hand over the cup again and film it again, because it kind of reflects badly on the company and the workers. It seems a bit careless.
On Skarners VGU. And today I'm here to talk about Skarner's lore and all the excitement that that brings for Runeterra and League of Legends. Skarner's new lore is that he is a 10,000 plus year old Bracken and is the longest serving and founding member of Ishtal's ruling caste, the Yuntal.
Okay, so they're still called Bracken, but we don't know how many there are or what they're up to. We just know about Skarner, and this is not something that gets elaborated on in this video.
As the longest serving member, he has been a part of Ishtal's history and has been a part of every key decision, leading up to the present, including the decision to sequester Ishtal from the rest of the world.
So for anyone who isn't a major lore nut, Ishtal, I guess it's pronounced Ishtal because I've been saying Ixtal the whole time, is one of the oldest nations on Runeterra, older than the Shuriman Empire, which it did at one point join. But when the Void attacked, they became isolationists and segregated themselves. And because of that, they managed to survive, using the wilderness as a shield. They've been hidden for about 1,000 years, and in that time, they've seen the Darkin come about, they've seen the Ruination, and the Rune Wars. So, painting Skarner as some paranoid loser, as they kind of do in this video, makes no sense. It's only been 1,000 years, and there's been about 3 world-ending events that they have completely sat out in peace. They're doing something, and it's working out for them.
He is determined to protect Ishtal at any cost. The way that he sees the world develop outside of Ishtal has just fueled this paranoia that may not be entirely reality.
No, it is reality. He's not wrong. I don't know why they're saying he's wrong. He clearly is right. Even the B-roll footage the editor chose to use is right. I don't know why they use this footage if the point they're trying to make is that Runeterra isn't actually so bad. They should probably be showing things like Yordles or Demacia at peace. I don't know. Not this. Because they're showing the scum of the world and supporting Skarner's point of view. So from a video editing standpoint, this is really weird. But no, Skarner is right. Because they've had the gassing in Ionia from Noxus. They've had the Ruination. They've had the Darkin, the Void, all of this stuff. Runeterra isn't a safe place, and it's weird to paint it as one. Like, he's misread the situation, or he's paranoid because 1,000 years ago the Void came, and now he's just paranoid of them coming back. That's not really the situation. He's looking at the world and saying, holy shit, at least we've got peace and safety.
Mortals will do anything they can to grasp even a modicum of power, and that their penchants for violence is also incredibly high. He both loves humans and distrusts them, and he's hearing these whispers of ending Ishtal's isolation, and that's really driving his paranoia. What makes Skarner scary isn't just that he's giant or that he can rip through the terrain. It is this paranoia, and that even the best intentions can become twisted.
This is not a bad idea. It doesn't suit Skarner though, and it sounds super original and deep until you realize it's the plot of so many Disney films. An overbearing parent that's so overbearing they're actually harming their child and holding them back. Yeah.
I hope that people kind of engaging with Skarner's story kind of feel the kind of visceral fear that comes from twisted good intentions, what it means to be in that position and to also be on the receiving end of a character like Skarner.
They need to show him doing something wrong for him to be a scary villain. Because, like they say, the horror isn't really meant to be from the fact that he's a 10,000-year-old, 1,000-foot tall scorpion. It's in his mind. It's his paranoia that's scary. So, how about telling us something he's done that is horrific? Maybe people have tried to leave Ishtal and he's stopped them with violent force. Maybe he's so overbearing at these meetings he's a council member at that people are now afraid to speak out even an ounce because he's maybe destroyed a building or threatened someone. They need to actually give context to his so-called horror. Otherwise, it's not really horror. It's just some guy who's kind of in the right.
The reason why we updated Skarner's lore is, with the goal of creating a single canon throughout all of Runeterra, there leaves a lot of questions with the brackens.
You haven't told us anything about the bracken still.
And hex tech and what that means. On a personal level, working on Skarner and knowing I'm changing so much, it's a little terrifying.
Yeah, and like I said, no hate to this dev. I see they had a vision. I just think it's gone really poorly.
Because we want to place these champions in our lore, we want to elevate them even higher, but we also don't want to disrespect the people who love Skarner and the reasons why they love Skarner.
Okay, is this a joke? What does she mean by this? They don't want to disrespect people who like Skarner. This isn't Skarner. There's nothing about this character that is Skarner other than the fact that they are a eight-legged freak. That's it. They've got 8 legs. They like to go underground. I guess. Does the new Skarner like to go underground? He goes underground in his gameplay, but they don't say anything about he prefers to spend his time underground, and he's down there so much that his paranoia is getting worse. He sees the sun less and less every day. They don't say anything like that. This isn't like that wouldn't be in character for Skarner anyway, but there is a bit in Dream Song where he says, I want to just put my head down into the sand and dig and never come out. And they could have at least tried to connect something with that, with the new Skarner, because right now, there is not a single thing about the old Skarner represented in the new Skarner. This is like a ridiculous statement.
And so now, as the oldest member of the Yuntal, Skarner is now one of the most important characters in Ishtal.
Ishtal is the most underdeveloped region in Runeterra lore. He is not more important in the lore for being important here. He is less important because he asked questions before. He asked moral questions about Hextech. He was in Shurima, a very important region. There were characters he had potential to intersect with. Right now, it's just Kiana that he can kind of interact with. And yeah, Ishtar is just a nothing place right now.
Which really elevates him to a new level, but it is still different than where he used to be. I hope that current Skarner mains enjoy the new Skarner. He's awesome. I really hope with his story they see his new importance in Ishtal and how integral he's become to the region and how he's now a living piece of their history, and that they think that this new lore is worthy of the character that they're so dedicated to.
I don't know why they're even suggesting that they're trying to please Skarner fans. They're not. A goal of VGUs is to make a champion relevant to the story of Runeterra. But is that a sick joke? They've moved Skarner from primetime spot related to arcane story and champions to the middle of nowhere with no fleshing out. And now, he's fucking huge, by the way. As big as Malphite, it seems, who's already a bland-looking giant living in Ixtal. Skarner isn't even the first mountain-sized champion in his new region. Malphite is made of stone, but Skarner looks like he's made of stone. Actually, let's talk about visuals. Skarner is incredibly bland, boring, and is literally just a big grey scorpion with some faded paint on him. The model is actually incredible, with legs and pincers having good animations, and the underside of the model is actually scarily detailed, considering none of his animations put him on his back. That's as far as horror goes though. Skarner was the crystal scorpion. His defining feature was that he was a creature made of shiny gems. The primary issue with Skarner's aesthetic was that he could be misread as a void creature, sporting the same purple tones, and being a bug doesn't help. It positioned him pretty close to Rek'Sai, another purple bug seen terrorizing the sands of Shurima. But that's not Skarner's fault, he was literally there first. Riot imposed on his space. But it's true that even without Rek'Sai, the scheme was a problem. The solution seems obvious. make him a new model, and change his gems to blue, which connects him more to Hex Tech, which is super integral to his lore and makes him different from the Void. Instead, they just deleted the fantasy entirely, deleted the aesthetic, and this is the biggest problem with VGUs that are bad. They don't improve the fantasy, they just delete and replace it. It's just replacing an old champion with a new one, but calling it the same. So that's it. That's the tragedy of VGUs. We lose some really cool characters with great potential that just needed some help being reworked into something people wanted to play or see more of. And instead, they're gone forever. And I didn't even mention the treat that one of the Riot devs put out, which was very off. So if you want to see me talk about that, leave a comment saying talk about it. If not, I'm glad you've enjoyed the video to the end. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this.